In this episode, I'm sitting down with Ahmed, keynote speaker, the author of The Energy of Success, and the original Chief Energy Officer, for a conversation about how we shift from surviving to thriving. We talk about the 7 levels of energy, why your curiosity is your superpower, how to shift out of blame and destructive patterns, and what it really means to practice presence, especially when facing loss, family struggles, or addiction up close. How did you get the title of Chief Energy Officer?
Yes, I got that title actually from Caesars Entertainment. So during COVID in 2020, I assisted with a lot of their HR needs with furloughs and having to work through all of the ordinances. And once we got hotels back up and running and got people back into hotels, Caesars hired me to be what they called their chief energy officer once they saw what I was going to provide, because I went around to their 55 different properties and energized their team members. And so we selected emerging leaders on how to shift them out of that COVID energy of survival to thriving. And so the entire year was, oh my goodness, we have this chief energy officer coming to your hotel to energize you and get you out of this COVID slump. And it was super fun. And from there, it just stuck. Everyone loved it. And I was like, done and done.
What a great title. And it's still CEO, but it's Chief Energy Officer. I thought you made it up. And that's why I was like, oh, it's so cool. You call yourself that. That's so cool that they gave it to you. And then everybody just loved it.
Yeah, absolutely. It was coming from the C-suite. So they were like, okay, so you're the CEO, you're the CFO, you're the CHRO. And they're like, Rebecca, what are you? And I was like, well, I'm bringing you energy. And they're like, well, then you're the chief energy officer, CEO too. Boom, done, separate.
Amazing. Before that, you were HR, right?
Correct. I come from, in corporate world, 12 years, 13 years of HR experience. I still do some work with HR in terms of coaching and consulting with organizations, but my background is coming from hotels and travel, primarily all those Vegas hotels, and then yes,
The Cosmopolitan.
Cosmopolitan, baby, that's one of my babies. Helped
You said
open
you
up
had
property.
10,000 employees there? Am I right?
They were around 6,000. So Win in Encore is around 10,000. We hired around 5 to 6,000 at Cosmopolitan to start. I think they sit now around 4, because usually you boost and then see where you need to keep people, or if it's just, the entry of opening a property.
Yeah.
And then Allegiant, we grew from 3,000 to 6,000 when I was there, and Pinnacle was 17,000. So big companies.
Wow. Yeah. You've been involved in some huge companies.
Yeah.
Can we talk about leadership in those type of environments?
Yeah, so leadership differed at each based on the culture. And I think it's really important to lead with your values and have it a personalized experience, but then also align it with the culture. So if we look at, for instance, Cosmopolitan's culture was all about curiosity, and they led with that in every single approach, any challenge. And so coming from that lens of curiosity, my leadership style very much led with that too. How do we want to be new and different that matters? How do we want to make our mark? These are all Cosmopolitan branded words and phrases of how we spoke. And that's how we led. Where Allegiant was all about innovation. We talked about the fact that the planes were more technologically advanced. Not to say our pilots aren't amazing, but we were coming from a place of innovation and how we took these old planes from Italy, refurbished them to make them innovative and light, and be able to make a lot of money successfully for the organization to scale, coming from a very simple business model of taking someone off a couch in the middle of nowhere and taking them to a place like Las Vegas or Orlando, so that they are literally competing with the couch. They're like, should I even go do this? Or, oh, I'm going to go do this, and it's cheap, and I can experience this and not have to spend a ton of money. So that was their competitive advantage. And everything was through that lens of innovation.
Wow.
And we changed our entire recruitment process and made it very innovative. And that's how we won the award for Glassdoor in less than a year. Top 10 companies to interview with, because we led with that. So each organization, I say, you are a leader in who you are and how you value, but you need to marry it with theirs to ensure that you're really propelling the culture forward.
Is There More is the podcast where creators share how their darkest moments became the breakthroughs that changed everything. We're building a space for raw stories, deep connection, and real hope for everyone who's still writing their story. brought to you by Dialogue Life Skills, the world's scalable solution to the teen and young adult mental health crisis. I'm your host, Megan A. Tully, and I'm listening.
Curiosity gives you the ability to lead with a growth mindset.
Yeah.
So when we talk about different levels of energy, and I won't go through all of them in depth, but let's just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Level 5 is coming from this lens of curiosity. So 1 and 2, you're in this destructive area. You start bridging in 3. 4 is all about leading with service. 5 becomes this opportunity to lead with a growth mindset.
Wow.
There are no judgments and assumptions in this level. And it's coming from a lens of what can I learn from this challenge, from this opportunity, from this experience. And when you are experiencing destructive energy, it's very easy to go into assumptions, judgments, blaming, creating a story that doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you use that power of the pause and say, what can I learn from this? How can I flip this to an opportunity of growth? Your energy shifts.
Yeah.
You're no longer looking at it as a victim mentality or an anger mentality against someone else. It becomes this opportunity to just think.
Would you say that if you're looking at something through the lens of a problem, it's always going to stay a problem?
Until you create that shift, yes.
Gotcha.
And Megan, you just hit and nailed on the head. And this is, I was talking to a she's a very close friend, and you just nailed it. If you're still looking at yourself as a problem, how you think about yourself, how you believe who you are is a problem. How can you create anything opportunistic in your life from a growth mindset?
Wow. So if you're looking at yourself as if you are a problem, which we've all probably been told at some point, whether that was from our parents or people in the world, anyone, then you cannot have a growth mindset.
It stunts you, and it stunts you from getting to your goals, getting to everything you want to do, because you don't have the confidence in yourself and the belief in yourself that you are worth it. And until then, how can you communicate your worth? How can you share that? And yes, like, I love that you're showing this, because that is that self.
Yeah.
And as you see this grows out, it becomes less about self, because you already love yourself, and you're not coming from this place of ego of trying to prove that you are worth something, because you already know it.
So, okay, guys, if you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, we're looking at the 7 levels of energy. What do you call this? A circle
Yep,
chart?
it's the energetic chart. It's your energetic perception chart. So how are you perceiving the world? And through these 7 levels of energy, there is a core thought, which you see in one column, a core feeling or emotion that's associated with that thought, and the core action or result that is associated with the feeling and the thought, because it's driving your actions. And in my book, The Energy of Success, I actually change these into zones and provide a bit more terminology around them, so you have the understanding a little further beyond one word of thought, one word of emotion, one word of action. I give you a couple more so you can really understand the encompassment of each zone, because every zone and every level of energy, it's interchangeable, has an advantage and a disadvantage. And so you must understand that they all are needed, including destructive energy, because at times you need to run. You need to get out of the way. You need to fight. And so we must honor that our brains and our bodies do provide us that energy from a lens of protection.
Okay, so if I got that, every level has a constructive and destructive aspect to it. So when you're thinking about even like people who are like, good vibes only, or, I don't, if you're angry, or if you're, if you're in a low vibe, I'm not going to talk to you, kind of thing, like the cutoff culture.
Mm-hmm.
It's really not, like, you don't really believe in that, because you do believe that every level has its own value. And whether you're blocked in it or not, that's kind of like what you teach to help people figure out.
Correct. And I that's really interesting you're bringing up that cutoff culture. I look at it as more, is your energy in alignment with my values and the energy I'm trying to surround myself to approach my goals?
Hmm.
And so if your energy in this space is destructive, rather than saying, I don't like you, I don't want to be around you, it's right now I'm leading with an energy that is extremely constructive and it's in line with my values. And so I have to make sure I'm surrounding myself with that energy. And if when you're ready to be in that space, I am happy to like collaborate with you, communicate with you. But while you're still working through that destructive energy, if that's not what I need in my space right now, I can honor that.
Okay. So you talk a lot about when you're ready to get out of that energy, I can collaborate with you. How do you get out of that energy if not through collaboration?
Well, if I'm your coach or if I'm your therapist, if you have a therapist, that's different. That's a different collaboration. But I'm talking as a friend or maybe as a colleague. Because as a friend, you don't need to be someone's therapist or coach.
Mm.
You can be if you want to, if you want to invite that in and you want to have that conversation and you find that very fueling, especially those who lead with level 4, they might find it extremely fueling. But
Mm.
if it's not fueling,
Okay.
if it's draining your energy, this person, their destructive energy is draining yours because you're wearing it or it's something that's not helping advance yours, it's important to honor that and not in a mean way, in a constructive way and say, this is what I have to like surround myself with. And I can't do that right now because this is where I'm trying to go.
Got you. So that's what they call setting a boundary in like
Yes, I
today's.
that word boundary really sticks with me.
Why? Why don't you like it?
Because okay, coming from hospitality, we
Okay.
are taught to say yes to everything. And I am born and raised in Las Vegas. Like, yes comes out of my mouth so quick, I have to sometimes learn, like, wait, Rebecca, process. But the idea being we can always look into a solution. And it's one of my energetic success principles, creating possibility. There
Mm.
might not be a yes to this exact question, but I will find a yes to something that can start getting us moving to that. And so with boundary, I look at that as a no. It's putting up a hard wall.
Mm.
And I never like hard walls in the sense of you always want to create a possibility. So that might be this might not be the moment where you're welcomed in or the moment I'm, having communications with you, but it's never a hard no. I really do believe people change. Your energy obviously changes constantly. And so
Hmm.
that word boundary to me just seems so limiting.
Yeah.
And I always like to create possibilities. There's always opportunities.
Okay, I love that. Looking at it through a lens of creating possibility or inspiring possibility instead of putting up a hard no, a wall, because it really what you want to say is not right now,
Yeah.
but let's find a yes within there. Did I get
Let's
that?
find a yes within there and when that time works best for both of us.
Yeah, I love that you teach that because on the flip side of that, we teach in dialogue life skills, we teach like how to honor somebody's boundaries by asking, is now a good time to talk about this? And they say that that eliminates 60% of all conflict just by asking because we're all running our own like programs and our own movies, right? And
Yep.
so just by asking is you are honoring their boundaries.
And what is asking? It goes
It's
with curiosity, right? Like
yeah, like wonder, yeah, curiosity.
everything from curiosity is coming from a
Exactly.
question. So that's
Yeah.
exactly the same. It's the same concept.
I love that. Okay, so you have five energetic principles. Lead with love, which you talked about too. Cultivate curiosity, inspire possibility, practice presence, and the principle of detachment. I feel like I know what you're gonna say, but which of these do you think is most important to have an energetically successful life to you?
I think that depends on the person.
I knew you were gonna say it. Okay, let's talk about for you then. Like a specific example of why, maybe.
So I think I have to use them in different parts of my life. And as I've grown, I've had to lean on certain pieces. And I think that's everyone will go through different pieces. And as you become more confident in yourself, as you experience life longer, just by the process of age, you practice more presence because you have experienced more loss, and you have more gratefulness for the people around you and the moments you get, that you might not have
Yeah.
ever captured those moments and really realize that might be that last time with that person. That might be the last time you ever go to see that place. And so I think
Yeah.
practicing presence for me has become such a big part of my journey now because of how much loss I've experienced with friends and family members, where before
Yeah.
that wouldn't have been it. I led with curiosity most of my life. Like when people say how do you approach things, I said I actually did a blog on this, like dipping a toe, maybe putting your ankles in, maybe filling the water. I cannonball. Because I was always coming from that curiosity lens, like there's only growth available. I'll
Right.
learn through this. So I've learned that might not always be the best option. So I think it just depends on where you are in your life. But right now, practicing presence for me, and enjoying this journey. I'm shifting my business to really focus on speaking. I've done a lot of coaching and consulting, and speaking is the last piece. Obviously, I have my book, and that was something so important. You practice presence and writing so much. But this is the biggest challenge, right? Of getting on those stages worldwide and getting people to see and experience my message and experience for them their shift in their life.
Yeah.
And that takes time, and that takes practice, and that takes energy, and it takes practicing presence and realizing that every no is an opportunity to learn and every yes is an opportunity to learn. And realize, and as an entrepreneur, we all know that you have to be able to flow through those, or else you won't progress and won't accomplish your goals.
So, if I got that, the heart of what you think is very important for you is practicing presence right now
Right
because
now.
of the amount of loss that you've gone through. Is there more to that?
There's more to it in the sense of when you are practicing presence, you can bring in what you aspire to do. So
Mm.
that's that meditation piece. That's that level 7 energy. Getting clear on what does that mean to look like? What do the stage looks like? What am I wearing? What am I smelling? Who am I talking to? Who am I laughing with? How am I seeing their energy shift? Visualizing that, manifesting that, speaking in that terminology, practicing presence in every aspect of my life and honoring that and honoring when I'm not doing it
Yeah.
and saying, oh, today, like you're not wanting to do this, you're wanting to flutter. Okay, let's honor that. Let's be present in that fluttery stage. Rebecca today wants to just be all over the place. But yeah, I got to be present in that
You
moment
felt-
too.
yeah, present enough to honor where you're at today. Was there a moment that was like the moment that made you realize, okay, I got to be present now?
Um, yeah, so in 2017, my brother attempted to take his life. He actually succeeded for 7 days. I'm the oldest of 11, so he is number 5. I use numbers; it's easier for most people. It's easy for
Wow.
me.
Okay, so
But
you're the oldest of 11. He's number 5.
he's
In
number
20
5. He struggles with addiction, and he took his life, and he succeeded. And 7 days later, he came back, which was absolutely a miracle on all fronts. Doctors speak about it. My father's a doctor and speaks about it. And so he's with us here today. But in that moment, 1, 2, 3 family members were struggling with addiction. I was constantly working because I placed my energy there. That's where I found constructive energy rather than at home.
Mhm.
And that's when I said I wasn't practicing presence with my family. I wasn't practicing presence even with my partner. I was in
Mhm.
avoidance. I was in level 1 energy of I'm going to avoid that because it's too much for me to deal with.
So in your workplace, you were practicing presence at this time, but not with your family, even not with your partner. And in 2020, you said
This was 2017.
okay, 2017, your younger one of your younger brothers
Number
um,
5.
succeeded in taking his life through. He struggled with addiction, and so
Actually, he's number 4. Whoops, wrong number. Oof.
okay, so number 4.
Oh, crap, which good.
But 7 days later, he came back.
He came back. He came back and with my family because we were all in the room. We were all holding hands and singing and had pictures of him and we're sharing stories. And in that moment, I was like, something has to be different with my family. Something has to be different with my partner. I need to be present in my personal life just as much as my professional life, because I am one person just like we all are. I'm not two people jumping into two different worlds. And so I led with curiosity there. And that's where I found Landmark Forum, and I joined. I entered the curriculum for living for an entire year, and rebuilt my relationship with my brother, rebuilt my relationship with all of my family members, and my partner. We are no longer together. We're divorced after 8 years, but we are best friends, and we
Love
talk
that.
all the time, and it's so constructive in our life. And that's where love came in, Megan,
Mm-hmm.
because I learned I used to punish by taking away love. If I thought you were like doing something to me, causing me anger, I remove my love. You didn't deserve it anymore. And what I learned is that actually causing more pain. I love to love. Like,
Well,
I'm a
yes.
lover.
Well, it's causing more pain for you, right?
Yeah, for
And
me.
obviously them, but for you, because now you're
I don't even think it
not
causes
being
much pain for
yourself.
them.
Uh-huh.
It's more
Uh-huh.
for me.
Wow. So that's profound.
Yes, it was profound. And I remember calling my partner. At that time, we were in separated mode. And I apologized. And I said, I love to love and I love you so much. And I'm so sorry. I've been so
Oh.
mean just because we're not going to make it as a couple. But like, I love you. You're my best friend. Like, I love you for everything. And he was like, and he's French. And he was like, oh, like so thankful. I just remember all of his French words coming out. And he was like, thankful because he's like, I can't imagine us not being constructive in each other's lives. And so
Yeah.
that was really helpful. And same with my mom. I hadn't spoken to my mom in years. And I was like, I had such anger. And when I let that go and said, like, I still love you,
Yeah.
I still have love for you. And do I agree with some of the things you've done? No. But do I need to be angry with you? I release that. What a release for me. And that's
Like,
changed our relationship.
yeah, like forgiveness and staying true to who you are, staying true
Doesn't
to your
even need to be for
values.
forgiveness.
Okay.
I share that because there are a lot of things I do not forgive,
Right. Okay.
but I have no anger towards them.
Okay.
I let them
Oh,
be what they are.
yeah, that's the level 6 or 7. I think it's
Yeah,
six,
kind
right?
of being present with that's a practicing presence with it. It is what it is. And I think when
Okay.
people have gone through trauma and when you can say, I don't forgive that this occurred to me. I don't forgive you for doing some of these things, but I'm no longer placing blame.
I like that. I don't forgive, but I'm no longer placing blame. In my head, I usually say, and tell me what you think about this statement, but I say, like, I forgive, but I will never forget. I think that's a little more cutthroat, maybe.
Where is it? Ask where for you, Megan, where is the energy coming from?
Where is the energy coming from? As I said that, I just was like, man, I wish I said it how you said it. Because it does have like a little like,
Threat.
you wronged me, right?
Yep, it's a threat, right? I
Interesting.
forgive, but I don't forget. That's a
Yeah. So
threat.
so all these sayings that they have online, all these crap, boundaries cut off, don't forgive, don't forget, all this stuff. It really is about the intention you have behind it, but I think the actual words you say matter too, because
100%.
words have meaning. And so maybe in my head, naively, I think it's so forgiving, but the way you just framed it, practicing presence. Can you say it again? How you put it?
I don't forgive, but I'm no longer placing blame.
I'm no longer placing blame. I don't forgive, but I'm no longer placing blame.
Because at
Is a
least for me, in terms of
big
forgiving,
difference.
is that I honestly believe that what you did, you didn't have a malintent behind it.
Mm,
And so I forgive you for making a mistake or, doing something that you wouldn't normally do. Where if you are a person who has, let's say, someone,
right.
someone, someone, I can get to a place to say, I will not forgive you for that. I do believe that act was not constructive and it came from a place purposely of malintent.
Hmm.
But I can see where a person can shift and say, I no longer place blame. You
Hmm.
still did that, but I'm no longer placing blame on that because I've seen where you've shifted and we've grown.
Hmm. Love that.
And you can also honor where you've trust with that person.
Yeah.
Because I can say very, very confidently, I have no blame, but I also don't trust you in this space. And I'm coming from a very authentic way of saying that. I'm not coming from a place of anger, but I don't have trust in this place based on what I've experienced. And I would never want to place myself or someone else in a situation if it were so grave.
Wow. I love your philosophy of it. You're always exploring the reality of a relationship, any type of relationship, through presence, through curiosity, through leading with love. Was your mother one of those people who, one of those three who has struggled with addiction in your family?
She is.
And would you say that because you had so much of that in your family, this is what made you, right, go so deeply into who you are today and what you teach and practice today?
It is. And I think it's there's a lot of lenses, right? I've seen a lot of people who've experienced this and gone into a path of trying to understand the addictions or create spaces for that. And my exploration has been more on the relationship side of it. And so I think we can all take this in different ways, but I come from an energetic lens, and so I look at the relationship. I don't understand addiction. I know we all have pieces of addiction in our lives. I have to work out every day. If not, ooh, like I'm
Oh
spicy.
yeah, I got
You
you.
need to flow back.
I'm similar.
We all have in pieces, but are you using it in a constructive way? And I don't know what it's like. I do not know what it's like to wake up and think of a substance and think of being consumed by that. I honestly don't know. So I share that with people. Like I share that with my family members. I can't empathize with you there because I don't know. But I can empathize on our relationship and the energy of where we want to build our relationship and where we want to be connected. That's what I can speak to.
Interesting. Huh. So not ever trying to put yourself in their shoes, knowing you can't be in their shoes because you don't have the same life experience as them, but seeing like there's still room to grow in that connection together.
Yeah, I try to look through their lens specifically in their energy and relationship with their connections, with me and personally or with our family, let's say. But I don't try to look through the lens of what does that look like to want this, to be consumed by this, because I don't know what it is. Like I've tried, but I've very authentically said I do not succeed there. I've gone to Al-Anon. I've gone and talked to tons of people who have been struggled with different addictions. I can't see it. And so I have to honor that and say, I'm not your expert in that area, but I can talk about where we can energetically connect because I can see that. I can feel that. I can see that. I can quantify it, and I can speak to that.
Okay. How old were you when you realized that people in your family were addicted?
Not until, so my mom started struggling after her back surgery when I was in college. So probably in my 20s. And then my brother, that's when he was probably right around 18, he started struggling. My sister later. So and every time, I'm so naive. Literally, I didn't smoke pot until my 30s. So like, this is how much I haven't done.
Nice.
Like,
That's actually
so I'm
probably
very
so good.
naive to this. So like when people are
Yeah.
like, do you know like this is going on? I'm like, what? So
Wow.
I will say I have a lot, like most people would be like, well, Rebecca, like you should have known that, but I just really didn't. So I've had
Huh.
a lot of, I had no ideas throughout life.
Wow, wow, wow. But you would say like college age.
College age, yeah.
Is there any advice you would give your younger self, maybe college or even younger, when it comes to that, or even when it came to your own struggles, maybe?
Yeah, it would have been with a leading with love and curiosity. I learned so much of that from Landmark because I went to a place of that is bad, so bad equals you give hatred towards that. You give hatred towards that person. That's how I was taught. You do something bad, you get punished. And you are shunned until you are like do something right again and you're welcome back. Like that was very
Very
much like
conditional.
very conditional. Like I got one B in my life. I got the beating of my life. I never got a B again. I got straight
Wow.
A's. That didn't help me though. When you think of that growth, I now learned that didn't help me. And I'm not placing blame on that. Of course, like I learned to work really hard, but I'm saying, wow, like I actually limited myself with that because it was like I just have to get the A. Not I'm gonna explore and fail and see what failure's like. I do that now every day. But growing up, that's not how it was. It was you get the good grades, you get bad grades, you get punished, you don't get to go to play tennis, you don't get to see your friends, you are in trouble. And so until you get the good grades. And
Do
so
you think
that's
it,
how I treated addiction.
okay. Do you think that that didn't help you, the punishment? Because now, I mean, for me, I feel like it would be like I'm punished, so I'm a bad person. So now I'm turning inward and having destructive energy towards myself. Is that similar to how you took it, or why was that not helpful for you?
I think it was not helpful for me because I didn't understand that failure was a good thing. I thought that failure was only a bad thing. I didn't see the
Oh,
growth through failure.
okay.
Failure was to me like,
Huh.
you don't do that. Where now I'm like, fail. Every day, fail. I tell myself, I have a book every single day. If you didn't fail today, that means you didn't try something new. And that's what I learned through entrepreneurship. That's what I learned through Landmark. That's what I learned through going through IPAC and coaching and exploring was like, oh my gosh, failure is a beautiful thing.
Would you say it's the fear of fear itself to not want to fail?
Of course.
Okay. It's afraid of being afraid.
Of course, right? We always
What
are.
is what is that? Like what is
I guess it's how we're wired. I mean, sometimes this is just how our brains are. Our amygdalas are that. So we have to honor that, but we have power of choice. That's why we
Hmm.
always can say to our gremlins or inner critics, thank you. Thank you for keeping me safe. I've named them Negative Nancy and Bitchy B. I tell them thank you all the time. They have characters. One's gay, one's old. They're super spicy. But like, you have to be able to say thank you. And like, I got
Yeah.
this.
That's important, saying thank you. And I think the fear or the anxiety part, I've learned this 100 times, but I keep relearning it, is like
You have to.
always looking at it and seeing it, yeah, kind of personifying it, I think helps. But seeing it as it's there, right? And it's not, if you ignore it, it's gonna be there even more. It's gonna
Yep.
take a seat. But if you look at it and you acknowledge it, give it some tea, tell it to go sit in the corner, leave it behind. I think that's when it starts to go away. But yeah, I've had to learn that lesson 100 times.
We'll always have to. I plan on having that lesson every single day. And if you don't have that lesson, I call that putting whipped cream on or in the corporate world, glitter on garbage. Because you're
Nice.
not dealing with anything. You're just making it look pretty on the outside, but it's still
Oh.
there. It's still there.
And what are the energetic implications of keeping all of that inside but not bringing it up to the surface to look at and putting a mask on, right?
Yeah, so there's a lot of pieces with that. Look at your health, overseeing HR for organizations and seeing how much every single person, our employees, are having to take medicine to go to sleep, to wake up, to process their food, to for anxiety. I mean, this constant need for medications just to live is a problem. And I've just been in Japan for the last few months, and you know their number one prescription is to go walk out in the forest and touch nature.
Oh,
And I
uh,
love that.
yeah,
I love that. And that's practicing presence. That's what I teach my clients. How do you want to practice presence today?
yeah. And
And
it's
that's
your
one of
choice.
them.
Wow,
It's your choice.
very
And so
cool.
that's where you'll see if you are internalizing this, you see health benefits. You see it in how your body's reacting.